We have a video here on just preparing for the transformations unit. We need to go ahead and go over a few things before proceeding. The first thing here that we want to do for the warm-up is we want to go ahead and locate A through F here, remembering where everything goes on the graph. So the first thing is we want to locate our x-axis. Remember that our x-axis is the horizontal, so this is our x-axis right here. The y-axis will then be the vertical. Okay, so here we go, y-axis. Next, the origin. We need to remember the origin is located at point 0, 0. This is the very center of the intersection of your x and your y. So we have right here at 0, 0. There's our origin. Now we want to label our quadrants. We need to remember that our quadrants are going to go forming the letter C. Your first quadrant is going to have all positive numbers on the x and the y. So this is going to be your first quadrant. Then we're going to go in the shape of a C. We move counterclockwise to quadrant 2, where your x's are negative and your y's are positive. Continuing on to quadrant 3, where all x and y coordinates are going to be negative. Finishing off over here, quadrant 4, x's are positive, y's are negative. The last two things we want to do is plot these points, because we need to remember how to plot points. If we don't know how, this entire unit's going to it's going to be a struggle. So let's go ahead and remember how to do this. We want 2 on the x and 5 on the y, positive on both. So again, positive and positive is going to be in that first quadrant. So 2 on the x, start at the origin, go 1, 2, and then continue 5 positive, so 5 up on the y, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So here we plot point T. Next, we got a negative, okay? Now our x is still going to be a positive, so we go positive on the x, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now we have a negative 1, so we need to go down 1 on the y. So here's going to be point B. Now, some definitions. These words are going to be extremely important for the unit, and they're going to be used over and over again. First, to start off, a transformation is a change in the position or the size, the position, size, or the shape of the figure. So you can see several different things. This is a review from 8th grade, okay? First, we're looking at the blank of the transformation is the original figure. That original figure is extremely important. This is what we call the pre-image. Pre meaning before. Prepare is to get ready before. So pre-image, before you complete the transformation. And once you are done, after the transformation, your final product is called just the image. Now we're going to talk about what is called a rigid transformation. A rigid transformation tells you that the shape and the size of both the pre-image and the image are exactly the same. If, however big or small it is, it's going to remain that big or small. If you look at area, perimeter, they're going to stay the same. Okay? Some rigid motions will produce congruent, since rigid motions produce congruent figures, it's also known as congruence transformations. We don't use that very often, but your rigid transformation, pre-image, image, get some flashcards and start. We need to, especially the pre-image and image, we need to know what those are. Now, this last section is we're going to identify the pre-image and image of the transformation, and also discuss what kind of transformation we had. Is it rigid or not? So rigid stays the same shape, same size. Non-rigid is the opposite. It's going to change sizes. Okay? So when we're going through this, what we're noticing is the orientation, where point D, point A, point C, and point B are, the orientation stays the same. Point D stays in the top left, point A is in the top right, so this means your orientation stays the same. All we have done is we have taken this quadrilateral and we have slid it. Okay, so your sliding is your translation. And I always remind students, you have SL in translation, you have SL in slide. Now, did it stay the same size? Yes, it did. So we do have a rigid transformation. And it wants us to identify the pre-image and image. This is where on the second quadrilateral over here you see these little marks, these little apostrophes. That tells us that is after the transformation has taken place. So this right here will be the pre-image. And this one over here will be the image after the translation has occurred. When we take a look at B over here, we're going to notice that the position, the orientation has changed. You see how A was over here on the left, now it's over on the right. which means our orientation did not stay the same. What we have here is this line. All we have done is we've taken this and we have just simply reflected over that line. So this is going to be a reflection, and that's a flip. And again, we have FL in reflection, we have FL in flip. All right, so again, going with rigid or not well, they are exactly the same size. So we do have another rigid transformation. Again, going and looking at the labelings of the vertices here, we go pre-image where we just have the letters. And your image, after we have flipped or reflected, has what we call prime. Okay, we'll get more into that later on, but this is A prime, B prime, and C prime. The last problem here, what we're going to notice is we have the same shape. The orientation is exactly the same. So A and A prime, they're both in the top. C and C prime are in the bottom left. B and B prime are in the bottom right. But it's not a translation. It might look like it's slid, but you need to notice they're not the same size. So it has shrunk from the original pre-image here to the image. It has reduced in size. This is going to be a dilation. Think about your eyes when you go to the eye doctor. They dilate your eyes. Your pupil's going to change sizes. Now, we talked about the rigid. If you notice, remember, I'm saying it over and over again, a rigid, same shape, same size. We have changed sides, so we are no longer rigid, so we are non-rigid. This is just kind of your background on remembering what we've learned in 8th grade and getting this pre-image, image vocabulary in our head as well as rigid.